Hi, welcome to another week of Stand United Live with Liz and Angela. We've got a few exciting petitions to talk about, a couple new ones, and I will go ahead and pass it over to Angela. As a reminder, we are always on Facebook. We love it when you guys comment, so just interact with us and we will respond as we see them. I'm following along, and I will be posting the links to all of the petitions in a minute here, so keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, so everything we talk about today, you're gonna have the chance to sign directly from the links in this video description. And first and foremost, I know back to school time is kind of over, and now people are looking towards spring break. And seeing the school buses on my way into work today reminded me of one of our newest petitions that's almost at 1,000 signatures. People have really jumped on this.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. It's about the Common Core. And we talked about this last week. It's really interesting. We mentioned how they've made math really hard. They've turned reading into learning fewer classics and reading more government documents. But one thing that we wanted to bring up today is that they're also messing with the social studies curriculum. And Liz, I know you had some things to add about that, especially crazy stuff that they put on worksheets.
Right. So the social studies and civics is taught in a way that isn't necessarily accurate to how it goes along. And I have noticed that some of you guys have brought that up in the past, just in interactions with us, especially people, we don't have kids in school, so we probably aren't as aware with how things are being taught as a lot of people in our audience is.
Yeah, we've had some really cool comments from parents and grandparents.
Totally. So there are different worksheets that they pass out that aren't necessarily accurate. There's a worksheet in Indiana which talks about Hitler without mentioning the Holocaust, which seems really hard to understand how you can do that.
That sounds like a very bad history lesson. There's even another one which says some interesting things about the Supreme Court, and they talk about American democracy being decided by the majority, which sort of, that's a vast oversimplification. We're a republic, not a democracy, and kids should know the difference, but they should also know their vote matters. Common Core just glosses over all of that entirely. They even say some interesting stuff about the Supreme Court. They had kids copying down the sentence like, the Supreme Court decides if laws are fair. Maybe, sometimes, but a better sentence, the more accurate sentence that teaches kids the right thing would be what? It would be, the Supreme Court decides if laws are constitutional.
Yeah, it's not correct, totally not about fairness.
Right, it's not, we like this law, we don't like this law, because that would be activist judges, and there are lots of strict constitutionalists in the world who say that that's not what the Supreme Court ought to be doing.
I've also seen things about how they go over weird government textbooks and stuff. Instead of taking out some of the more common stuff, they go through government regulations as part of their school.
Yeah, they're trying to train people to read government documents, which if you've ever read a government document, I'm very sorry. It's not fun. They are dense, they're not well written, they're intensely bureaucratic.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the law, if you look at Obamacare, that was what?
Oh my gosh.
Thousands upon thousands of pages.
No, thank you. I would rather not read that. Not to say that it's not important, because it definitely is, but maybe we shouldn't be teaching kids to write that way.
Right.
We should be teaching kids to read and write in a way that's engaging, in a way that's clear, not in a way that is, here's the EPA's guide to insulation requirements, which is real. The insulation thing is real. It was on their list of recommended informational texts. So if you're not a fan of Common Core, definitely check out that petition. It's interesting. We had a comment came from someone named Kelly from Thayer, Missouri. So hello, Kelly. And this person wrote, I believe that Common Core is making it hard for our children to learn math. I want my child to learn the classics and how to do basic math as well. This Common Core has no common sense. It needs to go.
That's a great comment, and I definitely have noticed a lot of people saying similar things just in their interactions on our live videos, as well as the comments on our Facebook posts.
Yeah. Oh, we have another comment here from Dan. Hi, Dan. Dan says government documents should be written in plain English. Yes, please. Yes, please.
So that everyone can understand. That should not have to be taught in schools to begin with.
Exactly. If you know how to read and write, in standard proper English, then you should be able to read what our government puts out, but they make it really hard for people.
We also have a couple more. Ranny says to get rid of Common Core, and Ron also says that it's a waste of time. So
yeah,
it makes sense.
Yeah, the issue of time as a resource, that's very interesting, Ron, because people are saying, like, look at all the time that it takes teachers to go through this new curriculum, the time that it takes teachers to train their kids for standardized tests.
Right.
I mean, there's an opportunity cost to that. That's all the time that could be spent on learning, on reading and writing and arithmetic, and all those good things that you're supposed to be going to school for.
All right, so shall we head on? Great comments, guys. Keep it up.
Yeah, definitely.
So our next topic is NAFTA, and this is a brand new petition that we actually just got up yesterday, so I'll let Angela take it away in introducing you to some of this stuff.
Okay, so NAFTA, you probably learned about it in school, unless you were under Common Core, in which who knows what you learned. But anyway, NAFTA is a free trade agreement. It's been around for about 20 years, and the goal of NAFTA is to eliminate trade barriers between the United States, Mexico, and Canada. So it's the North American Free Trade Agreement. That was its goal. Now, did NAFTA treat all countries equally? No. And that's why you see jobs being lost to Mexico, jobs being outsourced, Mexico having a really great balance of trade for their country with us and not such a great balance of trade for our country with Mexico. And this was one of President Trump's signature campaign issues. He talked about it a ton. You'll hear it at the rallies, on the campaign trail. He just held a rally the other day in that airport hangar. If any of our Floridian fans got to go, let us know what you thought. We would love to hear from you. So NAFTA has some really interesting bits and parts, and one of these is called the de minimis threshold. And that means that every country gets to set a level, say like this is our dollar amount, of how much value of goods we will let into the country without a tariff. So in the US, it's about $800. So that means what? Let's say if I am a Canadian exporter and I send $799 worth of product into the United States, I pay no tax. If I send $801 of merchandise into the United States, I'm paying a tax. That's all well and good, except it's not equal. So Canada's de minimis threshold is 20 Canadian dollars, so about 15 US dollars. The Mexican threshold is similarly very low. These are some of the lowest in the developed world. So you have our small businesses trying to export and having to pay these fees, while companies in Canada and Mexico are able to sell their goods in the United States generally without paying a tax unless it's a very high value shipment. So I know that's wonky, but to distill it all down, it just means that the tax structure, it favors Canadian and Mexican businesses over American ones.
Absolutely, and it was originally designed to let Mexican trucks into the US for free and vice versa, but as Angela was just pointing out, Mexico set height and weight restrictions for trucks that led to the US getting taxed anyway. So similarly to how Canada and Mexico kind of put their threshold pretty low so that no matter what, you basically get taxed, Mexico did similar things with truck weights. We actually have, Ronnie has another comment that NAFTA is a bad deal for Americans, and I feel like a lot of people agree with that. I mean, I think that's why Trump's message resonated so well with so many people.
Yeah, now there has been talk of scrapping NAFTA entirely, but a lot of people are behind that, a lot of people aren't. We would love to get a sense of where you guys fall on that issue, because trade with Mexico and Canada is huge. They're some of our largest trading partners. But when you look at things like the trucking requirements and the de minimis threshold, it does look like we're not getting a good deal. So that's really interesting. Now, NAFTA has been around for 20 years, and in that time, well, 23 years now, but in those first 2 decades, it quadrupled continental trade. So this is something that you might not realize when you pick up an avocado in the grocery store. You might not think, oh, this came into this country because of NAFTA, but maybe it did. And that's something that we kind of ignore, because it's not like NAFTA things all have a sticker on them, but it's something that affects every part of our budgets every single day. So definitely check out that petition. We're asking President Trump directly to go to bat for us and to be the negotiator that he tells us that he is, and make those deals that he was so famous for in business, and to do it on behalf of our country. Okay, so that was super wonky. The next one's really fun, we promise. Thanks for sticking with us. You want to kick this one off?
Absolutely.
Cool.
If you were tuning in based on the title of our video, we are now to the point where we get to talk about puppies, which everybody loves. So, the American Kennel Club is a competition for dogs that happens every year round, but there are some pretty strict guidelines. I was like, not regulations. There's some pretty strict rules and guidelines in order to get your dog to compete, which ends up leaving out a lot of rescue dogs.
Definitely. So the rules, as Liz mentioned, are super strict, where if you have a dog, then you want to get that dog into an American Kennel Club show. Not only do you have to register that dog with AKC as a purebred, but both of that dog's parents have to be registered as purebreds. So it's a pretty intense requirement, and while that makes the dog shows super interesting to watch, I know I watch every Thanksgiving. I'm such a dog person. But it also restricts the dogs that we might not know who their parents are. It might not be a purebred. Maybe you got that dog from a shelter, or it was a rescue. And I don't know, I'm biased because I've met several rescue dogs. I think they're adorable and every bit as good as their purebred puppy peers. Say that 5 times fast, right?
Yeah.
So this petition asks the AKC to have a rescue group. So when you watch the dog show, like, what are the groups? You've got the terriers,
Right.
sporting group,
Based on the breeds.
working group, the toy group, the little tiny hamster looking guys. They're cute. There are all these different groups, and we're saying, hey, AKC, you guys run a bunch of dog shows all across the country, and then the big kahuna of them all, the Westminster.
Right.
We're saying have a category for rescues. You know, maybe something has a schnauzer, little beard, and like corgi ears and German shepherd paws. Okay, that's probably not. That would be a weird looking dog, but you get the idea. And the idea is that these judges are so smart. They know all these breed standards for these different breeds. Why couldn't you just
Have a rescue, even just a rescue show would be awesome.
I would totally watch that. Like, would you guys watch? I definitely would.
So Steve wants to go back to NAFTA, which is great. We love this. So he said his job in California went to Baja, Mexico. 7,000 jobs lost. New United Motors Fremont because of cheap labor and no union, no benefits in Mexico, which totally makes sense. I mean, from the workforce part of it, you can see why NAFTA would end up losing jobs like that.
Yeah, Steve, we're really sorry to hear about what happened to you. And this is, we appreciate you sharing your very personal story about what you experienced in regards to this petition.
Yeah, I mean, and that's part of why we do what we do, where we're highlighting just the trending petitions. You know, we like to do the fun stuff like the puppies, but we also we realize that these petitions affect a lot of your guys' lives. So it's really important and awesome when you guys feel the need to follow up with us and tell us how these have affected you and why these issues are important to you.
Yes. So Steve, we wish you the best. And even the puppy thing, we make light of it because everyone likes to look at puppies, but it is pretty serious. There are 3.9 million dogs who will end up in American shelters this year, and not all of them will get adopted. So highlighting the rescue community and the group of people who takes in dogs where you might not know their whole life story or where they came from, but they're great pets, they're adorable, they're loving animals, and they're smart. You know, you can teach an old dog new tricks. You totally can. Ask anyone who's rescued a pet and they will certainly tell you as much. So if you think about 3.9 million animals who need a good home, and an organization like the AKC, which has the power to give that a platform and show them that these animals are every bit as worthy as any other dog in the country, we think that would be pretty cool.
Especially when you think about the vast majority of people that are watching dog shows probably don't necessarily know who their dog's parents were.
Totally.
And aren't planning on showing dogs themselves. I think, an opportunity for some of these awesome mutts and rescues would be very well appreciated for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So one more thing just before we go. Some of you guys who are political gurus and in the know might know what we've got coming up in the DC area in matter of hours now, right? It's coming really fast.
So it is the Conservative Political Action Conference time of year again. We will be there. Definitely look out for, and Angela or myself or some of our other colleagues, look around for us. We're going to be doing live videos through the next couple of days, so keep an eye out on our Facebook page to see what's going on, see who we're talking to.
Definitely. If you can make it to CPAC, please come say hello to us. We love to talk to you guys, hear about what's on your mind. Stand United petitioners come from all over and all walks of life, so it's a really big joy for us to meet you all. And if you're not at CPAC, just check out our videos. There's going to be tons of stuff going on. It's the biggest conservative conference of the year by far.
Donald Trump will be speaking there on Friday, so I will try to do my best to, I do not think I'm going to be able to make it into the actual ballroom where he was taking place, because you need to get there at like 7 a.m.
Yeah, you basically have to camp out. It's super intense. Like, however crazy you think CPAC is, it's crazier. It's awesome. But we're going to be showing you what it's like.
Yes, and I will try my best to get something for you guys from Donald Trump.
Yeah, so stay tuned, and thanks again for watching. We're Angela and Liz with Stand United, and we will see you next week, if not sooner.
Bye.